Well, that was a bit miserable, wasn't it? God, sitting there up at John O'Groats, feeling sorry for myself, whinging about the camera, whinging about the van door, whinging about the cold. Imagine coming to Scotland in January and whinging about the cold. So I needed to have a word with myself, and I did that. I did that at the old Pulteney Distillery, actually, in Wick. What for my daddy-o? What for my daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. Hello. I didn't feel that great on the evening of the last time I spoke to you, and I think you could probably tell that from my demeanour in the film. And so I took a day off, and I decided to just kick my heels a little bit around Wick, and it's a lovely little town. The main purpose of the trip was to just get away from my normal routine and to experience a little bit of Britain's wildness, and I've certainly done that. I've seen the most amazing landscapes and had the great fortune to spend the time filming and photographing them. Not nearly as much as I could have, but if I'd spent as long as I really wanted to in every place that I found beautiful, this would have been a 2-week, 3-week journey instead of 5 days. I wanted to try my new camera, the FS5, and I've played around with that a lot. I've started to learn all about its functions and its amazing technology, so that's been useful. The other thing that I've put into good practice, I think, is the filming during the day and then editing that material in the evening. And I've done that every day that I've been on the road. So at the end of every driving and filming day, I've sat down, and once I've transferred the footage over to the computer, I've then gone on to edit a short film. And these short films, like this one you're watching now, they're not great. I'm not the world's most natural presenter. I can witter on, but they've been a fun exercise in terms of making a video blog, a vlog, and trying out the new computer that I have on board for doing on-location editing, which is a service that I want to offer to clients, whereby I can travel to anywhere in the country, anywhere in Europe really, shoot film for them during the day or in the morning, and then in the evening put together a rough edit of the material and maybe even complete the film before I leave them. That's all doable with the new computer that I bought expressly for that purpose. So that's worked really, really well. The other idea that I've had is exploring the real possibility of a proper documentary about the NC500. And that wasn't one of the original intentions of the trip. I wanted to drive the NC500 personally. I wanted to have that experience, and it is amazing. I cannot recommend it highly enough to anybody that loves driving, to anybody that loves scenery, wildlife, landscapes, photography. There's a million reasons to look at this 500-mile circuitous route of the most northerly parts of the British mainland, and arguably the most beautiful and spectacular parts. So if you have a mind to do it, I just say go for it. It is wonderful. But as I've travelled and as I've had various conversations with people in cafes and bars and at the side of the road and in the street and in the distillery, it's become evident that there's quite a big story to tell here, and it's a positive story. I want to make a film about the NC500, and I want it to be positive and productive, and you know, all power to it as an initiative. But I also want to highlight some of the things about the NC500 that people ought to be aware of, because I don't think it's benefited everybody that it touches. I think there are a lot of businesses around the route who are reporting tremendous uplift in trade and footfall. There are so many more people passing through their little villages than ever there were, and I think a lot of businesses are going to thrive. A lot of new businesses are going to be set up off the back of the NC500, and in that way, I think it's going to be amazing for the region. But there are other stories that you hear around the route that you think, okay, well, people maybe need to keep an eye on that. One of the most worrying aspects, perhaps, of the route is that you hear talk of people timing themselves and trying to go around the 500-mile route in as short a time as possible. And if that becomes a thing, if that is a popular approach that people are starting to take to this route, then people are going to die. And it could be someone at the side of the road, and it could all go horribly wrong. So I'd be very worried if the idea of doing the NC500 against the clock or as fast as possible was something that people started to consider doing. If you're thinking of approaching it like that, just don't. There are some great roads that you can drive fast on. There are some fabulous sweeping curves where you can see right through, you know, the next 5 curves, and you know that there's nothing coming the other way, and so you can drive fast along those roads. And I did drive fast along those roads, and I would again. They'd be amazing on a motorbike. But there are roads where you would have to drive these roads, and if you were doing it against the clock, if you drove these roads fast, it would be insane. These roads have to be treated with respect, and there's a lot of people coming up here and they don't have any idea how to drive these roads. There's a certain etiquette and a courtesy that's attached to driving some of the roads that you'll go along, and these are A roads that probably wouldn't hardly qualify as B roads in the densely populated southeast of England. But these are A roads because they are the only roads, but they're single track with passing places. And if you don't know how to behave around passing places, and if you're travelling in a convoy of 5, 6, 7 vehicles, and somebody has to sit and wait for all your convoy to come past, you know, there's got to be a better way of managing that, because you're impacting on people's lives. I've had stories of people just getting out of a car and walking up to local fishermen, you know, dressed in their oilskins and on their way to work, and just taking pictures of them, you know, like they're at some kind of a bloody zoo or whatever. You know, that's not a very polite way to behave, you know, to treat the people who live here and make their livings here, to treat them like some kind of exhibit or you know, character at Disneyland. So have a bit of respect and be aware of the impact you're having and your behaviour is having on the lives of the people who live and work here every day. And so there needs to be maybe a bit of an education amongst users of the NC500. And personally, this is just my opinion, but I would suggest to the organisers of the initiative that some of the money that is undoubtedly going to be made off the back of the success of this route is reinvested in education of visitors, education of drivers, and how to behave as a tourist. And it sounds patronising, and it sounds a bit kind of, oh yeah, that's the last thing we want, you know, people preaching to us. But from the stories I've heard on the road this week, there is a bit of a need for that. because the impact it's having on some people's lives is amazing and wonderful and positive. And then there are other stories where people are saying, yeah, it can be tiresome. It's creating problems that nobody imagined. People didn't predict this or foresee it. So people need to get out and find out what those challenges are and work out ways of meeting them, facing up to them. The other thing is, I worry that if you have a business 6 miles off the route, maybe a lot of your trade in the past came from, people just meandering through the highlands, and maybe armed with, instead of a sat nav, an ordnance survey map, and discovering places almost by accident, which is a lovely way to travel and a lovely way to explore and discover a new part of the world. And are there going to be fewer of those people because everybody is following this route, which is marked out very clearly in bright blue on the interactive map? This is the way, this is the road we all go down, and we're all following each other like high-speed sheep along this set route, these set pieces of road. And yes, it is a great road. Yes, it does feature some of the very, very best scenery you're going to see in this part of Scotland. But it's not all of it. It's a tiny bit of it, really. And the rest of it is probably 4 miles off the route, 10 miles off the route, 15, 20 miles off the route. Maybe don't follow all the route all the way around. Maybe find your own version of the route. And I worry that if businesses that are just off the route, just maybe that little bit too far off the route in some visitors' minds, maybe they're going to suffer in trade because everybody gravitates towards the pull, the great pull, the romantic, the exciting, thrilling draw of the NC500. And if that takes business away from other guest houses, bed and breakfasts, campsites, restaurants, hotels and bars that had previously done okay, that would be a shame. So I think there also needs to be a little bit more encouragement for a slower approach and a more kind of flexible approach to the route, where we don't just say, this is the route, it's the only road, we're all going on this road, there's no other roads. Get off the bloody NC500 and explore some of these little places. And I did that a little bit, not as much as I'd have liked to have done, and if I come back I would like to do that. And if I make the film that I'd like to make, I will try and find some of those businesses that they're maybe not on the beaten track, as it were, but they have seen a growth in trade, and that would be great. If it's not just expanding businesses on the route, but also benefiting whole regions and areas of this part of Scotland, then it could be that the NC500 is a success story without a downside. There isn't a negative impact, and everybody is delighted with the way this country is going to be explored and opened up to a whole new audience of people who otherwise might never have ventured this far north, or worried that they were not going to get to see the best bits and the right bits. The NC500 takes in loads and loads of the best bits, but I'm not sure it takes in fact I'm pretty sure it doesn't take in all of the best bits. And once you're here, given that you've come so far, it would be a shame not to explore those other fantastic sites just off the main route.